Hi there. Interesting. I am not in sync with myself. Hi there. Interesting. Not in sync with myself. So basically, it ends up on YouTube 10 seconds after I say something. So if I'm slow to react, you know why. So basically, it ends up on YouTube 10 seconds after I say something. If I'm slow. Do we have anyone here? Welcome to the chat with myself, Henrik. I'm the CEO of the Chromia project and ChromaWay, and we were. Welcome to the chat. So I have slight problems with the feedback of hearing myself 15 seconds late, but feel free to chat in the chat window here. So I will start by saying hello. Hi, Sul, Nord girl. So people call me boss, but I guess it's technically right in a way. I was supposed to have my co-founder Or with me today. So what happened is that he has some family engagement and he has been having his third child. So he has some busy things that he needs to take care of. Next time, we hope. So what have we been up to lately in the team? That's a good question. We have been doing different things, different departments, of course. So what I've been working on, and the marketing part is we did this new homepage that you hope you have seen. Quite a lot of work to come up with how to present the information about the product in a good way, and perhaps we can have a session to discuss it later. So that's what I've been doing quite a lot of. We also are engaging in various partnerships and projects that we're talking to all the time and evaluating which should we help out with and maybe which are sensible to bring onto Chromia. So there's quite a lot of meetings and planning to work with projects. On the tech team, so we have basically two teams. We have a core team. Of course, they are working right now on setting up a little bit around sort of how to vote and preliminary governance. Something I know it's been in the works to prepare for mainnets, where you basically should be able to have voting on things. We have a sort of a client team. They are working quite a lot on protocol for NFTs in a new way. It's called Originals. That's something that we think we can bring in some new aspects of how to have non-fungible tokens, such as game items on the chain. The thought is that we can have a more complex protocol where you can not only have primitive things like your ownership, but you can also have logic on chain, which is quite unique. So take an example of a game item like a sword. That's something that can cause harm. It has strength, which is a property, but it also has the sort of the logic around swinging and participating in a battle. So you can have also logic on chain with our new protocol. So it will be, I think it will be announced more information about that any day now. I can actually look when it's going to happening on the new homepage. See if I can share a feature of that one. I'm trying to try out to zoom through Zoom, so that's this. Wonder if it appears on screen. You are screen sharing, it says, so it should go out on YouTube. How do I know if it goes out to YouTube? I only see myself. Oh, now I see it. It's because it's lacking. Yeah. My 10 seconds delay. So there is a new section here, what's up, on the homepage. So it says a little bit when we plan to talk about more of our gaming things. GRA on the 24th of February. That's been done, right? So, and today it's live AMA, and we'll have some news from Ricardo on an NFT event, so on the 4th or 5th of May, talking about Mines of Dalarnia, which is our an action game that we're doing. Another thing that has been sort of happening in the Chromia world is this My Neighbor Alice game that is going to be released. Hope you've seen the video on the homepage. It's going to be amazing, I think. So let me see if I can go back to the video and see if I have some more questions on YouTube. And so, okay. The mining game, official. Yeah, so Mines of Dalarnia, we'd had it on sort of the test protocol and have people that have been playing it, and it is actually quite fun. Might look a little bit old school and so on, but it actually has some kind of engaging experience. So we will continue to work with that, and there is, on the 4th or 5th of May, Ricardo will present it for this Blockchain Gaming and Alliance thingy. So we will continue to work on Mines of Dalarnia and update it. We have some ideas for that. So that was basically a game that we did together with a studio called Working Man in the US to showcase a little bit on the Chromia features. My Neighbor Alice is something that's basically been done slightly outside of us. So My Neighbor Alice is a new game coming, which has a lot of blockchain elements of ownership and being multiplayer, and so ownership of real estate, ownership of non-fungible tokens like things in the game. But it's also not only a game for blockchain nerds, or actually primarily for a general audience of people that want to, I don't know, what do you call it? Express yourself sounds a bit strange, but it's more of a creative experience that you do together with friends. There are games that have been popular lately for like a younger audience. We have things like Roblox, which is completely taking over the world. Basically, a lot of creativity and social sort of social gaming and experience. But it's also for a more mature audience. We have a game on Switch, which name I always forget, even though I've been trying to play it myself. What's a Switch game? Honest, do we have? It is called. No one knows the Switch game that is inspired My Neighbor Alice. It's called. Well, anyway, I hope that someone will put it in the chat. It's really huge. Animal Crossing, right? That's it. So I would say that My Neighbor Alice is a little bit inspired by the success of that game. So got another, What is the advantages of Chromia over other blockchains that don't have a business phase? So I would interpret that we started off basically from an enterprise perspective, in that we as a company, we started to work with banks in 2014-15 to do stable coins and stuff like that before Ethereum. So we based it on Bitcoin. And we know that it would never scale to have tokens on Bitcoin for basically Estonia, which is a small country, but still. So we had our ideas was to make something more like Lightning networks to offload that. But while we were building that sort of solution, we came up with the idea we need to get information fast, and we need to index the whole blockchain in a database to have it like with good performance. So basically, I think that's where we started to think, or Alex, our CTO, started to think about maybe we can integrate consensus into a proper database and do something around that. So we came up with that idea and started to do it for enterprises, intended for, it's kind of perfect for doing. Basically, most enterprise applications are on basically an SQL database or relational database from the beginning. Think about an exchange, order matching, things like that. It's perfect for these kind of use cases. So, and that's something that Chromia has that no one else has. Is basically that it's based on a database technology, the same technology that sort of is used in enterprises. So we come from that background to do it for enterprises, but then came up with the idea that we can also do a public blockchain about it around the same technology. And that's when we started to think that games could be a good use case to show the scalability potential of a technology. Because with a game, you can easily get millions of transactions and millions of players. Not easily to get millions of players, but it is definitely possible. So, but that's just one use case. So I think that one of the advantages that we have is that this is basically technology that is very grounded in what enterprises really have been using for the last 30, 40 years. I read up sometimes on market shares and so on the database world and relational databases, basically SQL. They have an 85% market share of the database market. So you hear a lot about NoSQL and key value stores and the MongoDB, etc. But that's like 15%, and 85% is the Oracles, the Microsoft SQL Server, the Postgres, which is what we're using, MySQL or MariaDB, and I would say that there are like 10 other flavors that's also used. Basically, everywhere you look in an enterprise, if you have an application, you need to you think that it's made in Java, but that's only half of the truth. It's also made on the database. And if you look closely, that database is almost all times a relational database. If you want to do SAP, for example, they started off with Oracle, but now are doing their own relational database implementation. So if you look at the core banking applications, if it's not on COBOL or stuff from the 60s, then it's on the relational database. So that's some of the advantages that we have, is that, strangely enough, we're the only blockchain that is really looking at that kind of technology. Maybe it's because, I don't know, actually. So what should we look at in the chat? Or we need more games that can generate coins. Yeah. So we need more games that are fun, and I think that some of them can be actually play to earn, and many will look at various economic models. So I think that we need more games that are sort of based more on blockchain and in-game tokens and so on. But also what I would like to see is more commercially successful games. And I hope that we have several that are coming to Chromia that will be like mainstream blockbuster games. Well, maybe not on sort of blockbuster game. That could be maybe a little bit much to strive for, but I'm talking about millions of players at least, and so on. And that's interesting. We are also, this GRA that we have been releasing is a very lightweight way for non-blockchain game developers to have blockchain elements of being able to receive and send basically items in the game. So it will be easy to interface with, and you don't necessarily need a wallet or anything to get some basic blockchain elements. So I hope that we can do something around that and market it more to game companies. So I got a question here around relational databases. Actually, it's not relational blockchains, maybe our term, but we're basing this on relational databases. So that is a technical term for basically a mathematical idea around how to best structure data. It was in the 1970s that a researcher at IBM, actually, Edgar Codd, wrote a paper around relational algebra and the best way to structure information. So he came up with this relational algebra, which is basically a way to make sure that you only store one piece of information once in a database, and you can link information together using something called relations. So I would say that a relation is what is also called tables now. It's actually not strictly a table, but that's how it became interpreted, because it was easily sort of represented as a table in like a tabular structure. So SQL is a programming language or language flavor. It has several flavors of SQL depending on which vendor you're using. that is implementing relational algebra in a relational database, which is the type of database that basically has tables to store information. So basically that's the epistemology around relational blockchain. So of course we are combining blockchain with a relational database, and becomes relational blockchain. So that's a little bit of history around databases. I would say, it's interesting. The core idea was around in the 70s, but it wasn't really well implemented until Oracle did that and did the first commercially successful database, because it was basically cross-platform, because they had implemented it in C, and there's other vendors started to compete with them, Sybase and Microsoft and IBM DB2, and actually the IBM invented it. Researchers with IBM invented it. They were a little bit slow to be commercially successful with it. So it's not like inventions have stopped in the relational database world either. That even the market cap of Oracle was, last time I looked, which was a few months ago, it was larger than Bitcoin. Now it's probably larger than, I don't know if it's larger anymore, but it's still large. That's only for one vendor. So there are, if you look at the surveys around developers, I actually mentioned that on the new homepage, that Stack Overflow, like a programming site, has a survey every year, and it goes out to 90,000 developers or something. And the databases and the language SQL is the third most used language. So it's used around, I think, about 60-70% of all developers know it. So it is larger than Java, larger than C++, larger than Python, larger than PHP, immensely larger than Solidity. That's not even on the top 20 list. And it's, of course, larger than Go, Rust, whatever. So it's only HTML and JavaScript that's more used than SQL. So this is technology that's really used in the real world. So, and we're bringing it to blockchain. That's basically some of the core ideas. What should we take a look in the chat here? Yeah, so I got to talk about our history on Bitcoin. We did tokens on Bitcoin between. Yeah, I guess that Alex did the first source code in 2012. I actually looked to find it somewhere, so I have it linked. I think it was in 2012. The first protocol to issue tokens, user-defined tokens on the blockchain. We had Namecoin before, but that's a non-currency application, but it wasn't really user-defined. But with Alex code for colored coins, you can now issue tokens on Bitcoin, which was the only blockchain at the time. And we had an open source project called the Colored Coins project that Alex was leading, 2012 to 2014. It kind of split up into several different companies and projects, and we started to work with a bank called LHV Bank to do euro payments on Bitcoin. And eventually I think it was quite successful in a way, that proof of concept. We had it working and they were trying it out live and so on. But then they didn't really want to fund a complete implementation. We sort of didn't find that much other customers for tokens at the time. And eventually, we started to talk with other enterprises and so on. They didn't want the public blockchains. They didn't want to touch them. Ethereum was just basically in the planning work at the time. So we started to work more with enterprises. There wasn't like a community that was really upset about it. I think that the Bitcoin community didn't understand much about the tokens or why they would be useful. I remember going to some kind of meetups and talking about the tokens and NFTs in 2013. No one understood what it was about, and next subject, remittances, and that's basically it. It's a bit strange. And I would say that after some time, Ethereum happened, and it sort of took over the potential for. Even though I would argue it wasn't maybe as secure or anything as colored coins on Bitcoin, it was still had some more features that were interesting to people, and so it basically took over that market, and so. So I didn't say that people were really angry when we moved away from Bitcoin. Basically, people didn't care that much. What more interesting questions do we have on the chat here? What kind of marketing approach will you use, since a lot of community members are complaining about how unaware people are about Chromia outside of the community? It's a good question, how to market it. I think that we are lacking, of course, in the release of the software is kind of inhibiting the marketing efforts quite a lot. We can talk, etc., but I guess that we need to show more of like working products and show traction in order to really make marketing take off a lot. So and unlike some other products we have crazy amounts of funding, we need to be clever with the marketing efforts that we do. We can't just pour out money on marketing, so we need to work as a community to spread information and try to move on from where we are, synchronize it with. I hope that some of the projects that we do will help out to market the platform quite a lot. Like if we can have successful games or interesting games that can showcase new features, if we can get more quality projects and talk about them, it will show more of the which is quite abstract. The technical benefits could be quite difficult to grasp why it's really important, in particular for blockchain developers, because blockchain developers might not even have a proper background in working with enterprise applications or applications that actually needs to go live and work for 10 years or be updated, changed, etc. So they might not even see that it's actually necessary for complex real-world applications directly. So it is hard to grasp our technology to some extent. So we need to showcase the first of the scalability and the benefits in that way, but also the ease of use and the productivity gains. So that's the marketing to developers aspect. I think that they will understand it if we can showcase more cases of where we make things easier to develop using our technology, that you can actually make DeFi apps integrated with Ethereum much easier with lower costs, and sort of highlight the tangible benefits of using our technology, then sort of that marketing can help out to spread. Otherwise, successful use cases, successful stories, I think is like important for marketing. And of course, general hard work in marketing, trying to improve on communication, web pages, being out there, have people talk about it. But if I had millions, I could buy a dinner with a famous VC or investor and do something around that. But we don't have that budget, and I don't think it's the right thing to get to do marketing by doing that. So, but I think that we should maybe, if people have good ideas, maybe we can talk about it in the chat for how to improve marketing. People always, complain on marketing, but actually, how would you improve it? If you have ideas for that, it would be interesting. Everyone wants to have better marketing, so do I. But specifically, what can we do? How can we improve it? So feel free to write in the chat if you have ideas, and I can try to elaborate on it. Wish it could be a little bit more interactive. Maybe we'll try out with the next. This is the first time we try this, so we'll try to improve it going forward with interactivity. So I had someone that was showing, sort of sending me AMA questions, submitted questions. So let me see. Someone asked a question around survival in the long term. Yeah. So that's a good question. How would a project in our field survive in the long term? And in that way, I think that, it could be, of course, common sense that people are flocking to are the biggest security, like in the Bitcoin model, where it's sort of represented by the amount of money going into hashing and running that blockchain, or the amount that is staked in the blockchain. So that's, of course, one way to ensure that your blockchain is interesting going forward. But that sort of assumes that all blockchain have the same benefits. But to be honest, like Bitcoin, you can use it for right now. It's kind of specific to payments and holding money. It is less interesting for doing more complex applications. And when it comes to doing more complex applications based on money, on programmable money, people have been looking more at Ethereum and other blockchains. I think that you also need to see what are the values that you provide. And I think that what we can do is actually have some way to make applications that are like normal applications. They are programmed quite similar to normal applications because they're based on a database, which is basically the same technology that gave us Amazon, WordPress, Facebook, basically all the web apps, as well as all the enterprise apps, core banking, etc. So this is the core technology that's been used in the real world applications for decades. So providing those benefits, they do exist, otherwise people wouldn't be using it. So, and taking those possibilities and bringing them to blockchain. So you can use the same security benefits of blockchain, but you can do more complex applications. So I hope that we can showcase that we can do more applications on Chromia than you can with Ethereum. You don't get stuck with crazy fees. You don't have to store things outside of the chain somewhere and have layers of connecting things in order to make a simple application. Basically, you can build a social network that's decentralized in less in a week, because it's just as easy to do it with Chromia as it is to do with PHP and MySQL. You can easily do a marketplace because you have all the it's easy to match transactions between a buyer and seller because it's you just do a matching in some database tables using Chromia. So I think that we have technical benefits that will ensure that the product will survive in the long term. And when it comes to securing the network, we want to hook up and both also ultimately hook up even to proof of work blockchains by providing the ultimate catastrophe evidence, by anchoring onto Bitcoin and Ethereum. So, I think that securities, and we can argue around the Bitcoin security model if that's, good or bad. But I think that we provide technical benefits that no one else has. And the technical benefits show themselves by having a more sort of productive environment for developers, like you can do stuff faster, launch faster, but also maintainable over years. If you change the information, you know how to migrate data from version A to version B. There are like procedures how to do that. So, stuff that is needed in real world applications. So that's what I think survives the longevity and the core idea to combining databases with blockchain for us. See if I have some more questions. It's really strange to just talk like this with no interaction, right? Here's some tips to talk with Ivan on tech and other YouTubers around marketing. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Ivan is a Stockholm resident, close to me. So yeah, I can talk to him, of course, about marketing. So of course, we should get at the right time. We should try to spread information around us for, in particular, like YouTube streamers that talk about development and to developers and that audience, and other YouTubers. So that's a great idea. Yeah. And it's another idea to a public-facing approach, people seeing your face and Chromia more. Yeah, maybe, but this format is kind of interesting to do a video stream, but I think it should be more interactive next time. I'm sad that Or couldn't join. For latecomers, it's because he had some family engagements. So he's just have a newborn and he has some stuff to do. So. But to be out there and talking with the faces, absolutely. I think that could be good. I think I would enjoy this more if we'd be a little bit more interactive. So I'll try to bring in more guests next time, and even try to, maybe it's possible to post a link and get people to log in and ask questions and so on. So that's a good marketing tip. Here's someone that likes the new homepage. That's good. And here's another. Let Vitalik mention Chromia. Yeah, I mean, we are friends with him, in particular. Or is personal friend with Vitalik, and I met him as well. But I don't think that he will like promote our blockchain right now. But he did mention our previous projects as inspiration to Ethereum, like color coins. So of course, but we also, we will actually work more with Ethereum and having this bridge that we're doing, so we can be a layer 2. Makes it quite more interesting to Ethereum developers, of course. They have their problems with fees, etc. And now we have a solution to make applications both faster. It's faster to develop, but also cheaper. So I think that that could be very, very interesting to us. So other ideas on marketing, Clubhouse, we can try that maybe. I'm a little bit sad that it's only for like centralized social media again, and only for Apple iPhones, and that kind of trick to have invite only. But let's try it out. Why not? You need to try out new things, but not exclusively, I think. So scrolling up here, see if we can find some questions. Will the Chromia originals be stored on blockchain? Yes, they will naturally. And for us, basically on Chromia, storing on blockchain is quite natural idea, because we are a database and a blockchain, and databases are meant to store data. And that's a problem for other blockchains as well. If you don't store your data on the blockchain, then you need to be damn sure that it's securely stored outside in several copies. Otherwise, there is not much evidence left. So it will not, also due to our architecture, it doesn't have to kill the performance of the blockchain or anything, because in Chromia it's natural to have one application can consist of many blockchains. So each running on, they are chained together, but they are running on maybe on different hardware and with different storage capacities. So I would say that Chromia originals will be stored on blockchain. Maybe there are limits as well. If you have like an original movie in limited edition, maybe you don't want to store 3 gigabytes of 4K video on the blockchain like that. So there are always limits, but in general, more information stored on the blockchain, as well as logic on the chain. Streaming to Twitter, that could be interesting. To improve the interactivity here. It's also a little bit irritating, this 10 seconds delay before I hear myself. Here's someone around partners that have joined the project reasonably, and what's the advantage for them. So maybe I should invite them as guest stars to the show sometime. One project is called Lingon, and it's a project around basically art. It started off with art, at least, like provenance of limited editions. Kind of a famous use case in blockchain, of course, provenance, proving that an art is in a limited edition, that it's genuine, that you are the rightful owner. Of course, tied to the whole idea around NFTs, but also around physical items. So they have been doing particular photography as for the first application for like a very established museum. I think that was the first customer, and they have ideas how to improve this industry around provenance of things. And they had been doing a project on Ethereum, but there were several problems, and of course one being the costs. If you want to attract a more mainstream market, it can be quite costly to store everything that happens on Ethereum. Or is it everything, by the way? Storing data is really expensive, so that's needs to be done outside anyway. But also transferring things has been very expensive. So Ethereum wasn't a good option for costs and feature aspects. Another thing is the user experience. You can't really have a really easy to use interface for end clients if you need to have a wallet and onboard things, etc. So they are looking at custody solutions, and we started to talk with them, and they decided that we had great features that basically solved all their needs and also like the teams. So we decided that we should basically migrate what they have been doing to Chromia, build some new technologies for and improve our sort of protocols, not only for them, but sort of we continue to do the open source platform, but sort of we can learn from their use cases. So we'll also invest a little bit in them. And now we are together with them, we are pitching various projects. What we like with them is that they are really experienced business people with a good network. So we hope that we can land some quite big brands to do projects together with them. So that's what we are hoping for with that partnership with Lingon. We put it on the new homepage, a little bit information about it. It's quite recent that we are doing this. So that's like a good new partnership that I would like to mention. I'm not sure what is more official, but there are more projects coming to Chromia in sort of the DeFi area, at least. So that's good to know. We have 12 people listening or 14 watching, so that I could give you. Let me see. So the cost of storing data using the Chromia blockchain. Yeah, good question. Of course, I don't know exactly, but it will be a marketplace to define the costs. And the model is not based on per transactions fees. It's more based on what kind of hardware resources that you are using for your application. So it's more comparable to cloud offering. And we think that the costs will approach the costs of cloud multiplied by the number of nodes that you're using for sort of the given hardware price. So that will be significantly cheaper than do an application on blockchain that pays per transaction, of course, because that's not really relevant. It's more like what kind of hardware you use. So I don't know exactly the price list, but yeah. And he's a Swedish guy, Khalid. Hope this is not a scam because he bought some Chroma last month. And no, it's not it's not a scam. And we do exist in Sweden because I can read your Swedish comments here. So, but no one knows that I'm reading it. But they can use Google Translate to check out the last sentence on the chat. So it's not, no, of course, not a scam. We've been in the industry since the Stone Age, 2012 or something. So it's not a scam at all. So that's also about longevity. Maybe we are in it not just for a quick buck or anything. When we started, I worked extra as a consultant. I was wondering, will there be a market for blockchain and tokens? So can we start a company around this? So I was interested Um, yeah, I was actually wondering, will there be a market for blockchain? So before I jumped ship and sort of worked part-time as consultant and part-time to fund the company, etc. So I wasn't there to get a quick buck. So we are here because we like the vision, we like the technology, and it's extremely funny and interesting to shape up the future. So yes, Nick, one of my guys, he's reminding me of CapShop. That's another partnership, yeah. So CapShop is something we I mean, it's been for some time. We actually did the first version ourselves together with this law firm that wanted to explore blockchain in a case that is sort of really working with the law. So it's the Swedish law in this case, and it's about a share registry or cap table. It sounds like an easy thing to do. You can put it on the blockchain, but maybe it's not actually. But with our blockchain, it's pretty simple technically because it's just a registry. You can easily implement it in a database, so you can easily implement it on our tech stack as well. What is more difficult is the legal aspects. So what does it mean to have a registry of shareholders? What are the legal, even a simple thing as sort of changing address takes I think we spent like 2 months discussing it with the lawyers, how to do it in a legally sound way. So CapShop started off by us doing it together with this law firm, but now we have got a new CEO that we recruited, and basically are getting some financing for it, and started to roll out the company to do this. So it, of course, starting off with a cap table and a share registry can easily lead into more things, like you can have more corporate actions, like doing splits and so on. You can also do maybe more corporate activities, like have shareholder meetings online, etc. But it can also lead to trading of companies, or like have a second-hand market of shares, etc. So this is something that can grow, and also not only to be based in Sweden, but we can try out other jurisdictions and so on. So that's CapShop, and it has received quite a lot of momentum the latest time. So I think that's something that's going well. So it's an enterprise application, basically. Here's another question. Are you not scared that a lot of projects started to migrate to BSC and don't look for something new? No. I mean, that's basically Ethereum, but in a slightly different way. We will have bridges to BSC as well. But what we do is we do something completely different that you can't do really well on Ethereum. I mean, in theory, you can do everything with a computer, but there is a fact that you need certain technologies to be productive. Like you don't code a web app in COBOL, even though you technically can do that, right? Because it's simply not possible. And no one has really done an ERP system that is, or a banking application that really works as a for a proper bank on the Ethereum virtual machine, because it's simply doesn't have that feature set. It doesn't have that included. So this is like when it, if you're a developer, you might understand that, you can't do everything just on the EVM. It's, that's perhaps one of the weakest points about it. It's hard to work with for complex applications. doesn't have the structure of storing information that you have in a database. So I don't think that we are scared that a lot of projects will migrate to a particular blockchain. So, but of course, there's always a problem that if people do not want to learn new things and start looking at new things. But it's also this untapped potential of people that are not yet in blockchain. So, and if you're looking at the world outside of blockchain, no one is really. If you look at the mainstream programmer, the survey I mentioned from Stack Overflow, they don't use Solidity like a normal application developer. They hardly use Go or Rust either. So, but they do use databases for good reasons. So we have this untapped potential of new projects and new people that might be attracted to our blockchain. So I got another comments here. Maybe say something on the venture builder. Yeah, we have been doing quite a lot of projects. First for customers, like someone comes to ChromaWay, the company, and wants to do blockchain for financial applications, like a new kind of exchange for funds. Or someone wants to do real estate for a land registry somewhere in the world, etc. We found out that that's can I say kind of slow moving, and we tend to do quite a lot of business development as well. I mean, we need to come up with an idea to how everything will work, basically for all these cases. So we do a great deal of basically what a management consultant should do, or the company themselves should do. So then we started to ideate and kickstart our own projects sometimes, like CapShop that I mentioned, the cap table on blockchain. We started to build the first one together with the legal company, and then we started to see that maybe we can be a venture builder in that way, that we can start new projects that are working and doing cases about the Chromia technology. So instead of waiting for a customer, necessarily we can launch startups that are proving a point around Chromia. So instead of, which would be quite hard to go around to established game studios and talk about blockchain, and then I mean, if you're lucky, they will know what is an NFT or a CryptoKitty. But if we are talking about, you can also have the complete logic on chain. You can have governance by your users and stuff like that. We know it's a hard sell to explain the technology. We've been doing that for years to banks, etc. So instead, let's do it ourselves. So that's why we are starting, or have been starting, this venture building program. So sometimes it will be projects that we start ourselves, but we also invest in entrepreneurs. It could be entrepreneurs that we can complement with our tech and our blockchain know-how. Perhaps they come with something that we don't have, maybe super good connections, industry knowledge, and a core good idea. So that's around our venture builder. So it basically, to be an investor as well as a builder. A little bit like Consensus did that. I'm not sure that they succeeded, but they had this vision to do projects, which is cool. We had that before for many years, but we didn't have sort of the muscle or the energy to do it. But now we are kickstarting that. More questions here. I think that Chromia should explain in more simple terms what they offer than other chains don't. I believe that people are in the tech understands, but outside that don't. Yeah, it's really hard to explain the technology in a good way. We actually tried our best now on the new homepage. If you scroll down to what is relational blockchain, so it'd be quite interesting to see what people think about that. I mean, it's hard enough to be a developer and then also to understand the databases and understand blockchain and actually have the experience and be able to evaluate what is good and what is bad. It's really hard to explain. So that also goes to marketing. So it's quite challenging to market it. Developers, they will understand it once they see the productivity gains and the ease of use, etc. That's quite normal that people. That's if you look at history of programming languages, the developers, they like to switch when they found something more productive. Like I was looking a little bit at Rust and so on, looking at some Polkadot stuff, and Rust, no one heard about it some time ago. People are switching to it for a reason, because it provides something that people feel a need for. So even though it's completely new language, like we know history or like C or C++, etc., you can get people to switch to it. Same with JavaScript, that was like mocked upon some years ago, but then suddenly Node.js happened and people started using it on the server and started to build more things. And now even old Java developers are learning JavaScript and so on. It's basically taking over quite a lot of development, languages go out of fashion all the time. So developers like to switch to more productive things. That's why fewer are working with PHP and more people are working with JavaScript, because it's better. So that's my hope as well for Chromia and Relational programming language. When people see they can do stuff faster, they will switch and try it out. Here's an interesting one Michael called "Start a decentralized dating app on the Chromia chain." That's a brilliant idea, actually. Did you know that I actually worked with a dating startup for a little time, a few months actually. So I actually have some experience of a dating startup. Was a small team working with my first little Go programming, but also to optimize the sign up. The idea was to do dating on with Facebook friends and so on. It's a pretty good idea, actually. But I decided to do other things. So, but it was it's an interesting application. Yeah, social media app. Yeah, tipping someone's post with a token, maybe earning something by posting. Yeah, actually, we have everything to do a good social media app, but we didn't have enough internal work or enough to really kickstart it. We have this community done, so we have a decentralized social network done basically, but then launching a social network, it's more than technology. If you want to go big with something, you need to have something interesting. Maybe that's why Clubhouse, they have a twist on things, and they do the usual tricks of limiting and getting scarcity before getting invites, etc. That Gmail used to pioneer, I think. So launching, and I've seen so many failed social network launches. So I think that if you have ideas, maybe you can try to get us as funders or co-workers, venture builder. But yeah, I would like to see more social media, in particular with all this debate around what do you call it? Yeah, big monopolies, big tech, mostly American. Nothing against America or anything, but it's like not very representative of the world necessarily. It's not like backed by everything. So having more decentralized social media is something that I personally think is extremely interesting. So here's pricing. Price question. If the Chroma price goes up and then it's going down again, it happens all the time. Yeah, so that is how crypto works. It goes up and down, or actually all assets, except that cryptocurrencies are a volatile asset, so it can give you, hopefully, big rewards, but also big risks. That's the fact of how different classes of assets are grouped together. So that's nothing strange. So yeah, social media tipping app. That's great. Maybe combine it with dating. What I liked less with the dating app was that I actually had to sort of try out dating apps, so file in my profile and so on some competitors. But it wasn't that nice actually to be able to. After some time, people start to actually contact me and so on. So I had to say that I wasn't really for real. It felt really bad to say that I was just experimenting to try out some competing platforms. So I, quickly logged out after that experience. I'm too nice to do that. So, wondering if we have anything more to questions that I should. Anyone that has some really, really interesting questions, last questions, post it on the chat. Otherwise, maybe we should try to wrap it up. And I want to do this again, but in a much better way with more guests, interactivity, and so on. It felt really strange to talk to myself like this. Maybe I should do a new streaming app that actually works. On blockchain, of course. Okay, really, I want to thank everyone for turning up then. And if you don't post anything fast, I will wrap it up. I can understand that someone is downvoting it, maybe, but it was like the first time we tried. So, see here if we have something interesting. Number one priority for Chromia in the next 6 months: release a better version of the mainnet where you can host your own applications and showcase the enormous scalability and usability aspects of our technology. So launching software is the number one priority, I would say. Good question, but yeah, the thing is, people getting NFT and ERC20. Yeah. So we think that we'll have like more. We will bring some new aspects of NFTs and ERC20 tokens and ERC721 tokens. That's also something in the works to innovate a little bit on the NFT tokens. So I hope that's cool. So thanks everyone for turning up, and yeah, see you next time, I hope. So thanks people.